Okay, so here is a quick tutorial on the paper cut activity that we're going to do in class today. So I've opened up the template, which is provided in your assignment, and as you can see, it's got a couple of layers here. We've got layer 1, and we've got a reference layer. Do not mess with the reference layer. This is locked for a reason, so everything you see can be hidden if you want to hide it. But what we want to do is we want to recreate these shapes in these white artboards to come up with this paper cut example right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to start my illustration. I'm going to go onto the layer right here. I'm going to call it working layer. And this is the one you're going to use to work on. Don't try to get on this one. It won't work. If you do, you'll see it is locked. You can't do anything on this one. So go onto that working layer. Just going to clean up my artboard real quick. Properties. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. I know all I need for this activity is the shape builder tool, a square, and my swatches panel or my eyedropper tool. So first things first, top layer. That's going to be this yellow one, right? This one right here. So I'm going to use this. I'm actually going to redraw this whole thing real quick. I'm going to get my rectangle tool. I'm on my working layer. And I'm going to hold my shift key as I make a square. So there's my first square. You can't see what's behind it, but we'll do just like that. So now I've got this black shape here. That's my first square. Let's make it, we'll keep it that color. Okay, let's bump that stroke up just a tiny bit. Window and stroke. Let's bump it up so we can see it. We could change this in a little while. Let's make it red just so we can really see that stroke in the demonstration. Just get rid of that fill. So we've got that red shape right there. Next, I want to do the next shape. Zoom in just a tiny bit, Command++. Space bar turns my mouse into a hand tool, which I can move the canvas around. Really helpful. So I've got my square. I'm going to draw this square now. I'm going to hold my shift key and do the best I can to match that square. Perfect. And I'm going to do the same thing again. So I'm basically just drawing all the shapes first, just like that. So if I hide that bottom layer now, you'll see I've got all those shapes. They're not filled or anything. I just want you to be able to see them. So bring that bottom layer back. And now what we have to do is Command -. I'm going to take this whole chunk of stuff. So I've just drawn a box over it with my selection tool. And I'm just going to grab the whole thing. I'm going to pull it down here to layer 1. And I'm going to shrink it down holding my shift key so it fits that artboard perfectly. So Command+++. So you can see I've got that whole pattern on that artboard. And that's what I want. For this demonstration, we're kind of doing a hands-on thing, so it's going to be a little different in the actual assignment, but I'll go over that too. I'm going to take this and I'm going to grab the whole thing again, and I'm going to make a copy. So I'm going to click, hold, Option, drag. Make a perfect copy on layer 2. I'm going to do the same thing again while it's still selected. Click, hold, Option, drag. Now, if I use my shift key as well as Option, it'll make it perfectly aligned. So click, hold, Option, shift, and drag. And you'll see it doesn't go up and down when I do that. So that looks pretty good. So I've got 4 artboards with the same pattern. Now what I want to do is I want to cut out the pieces just like this at the bottom here. And you'll see once it comes together why this is going to work. So I'm going to grab everything on this one. And I'm going to use my shape builder tool right here. That lets me subtract or add shapes, which is really helpful. One of my favorite tools. So I'm going to click on that while everything is selected. And if you watch, I'm just rolling over the pieces. You can see they're highlighting, and you see the little plus sign right here. Means if I pull all these together, it joins them together, right? Command Z. If I Option click, it turns into a minus sign. So if I do a minus and hold that Option key down, I can actually take pieces away. So it subtracts things. Command Z. So I've got my shape builder. Let's go back and just grab it again with my selection tool, get my shape builder tool. And what I want is I just want this outer part right here. So what am I going to do? I'm going to try to get rid of what's inside, right? I can do that by pushing the Option key to get that negative sign and drag right through those three pieces. So now all I have is this piece, and I'll fill it with color so you can see. All I have is that piece, and the inside's cut. That's what we want. I'm going to do the same thing here. Grab the whole thing, get my shape builder, and this time I want the outside frame plus the next part. So I want these two pieces right here to be there, and I want these two to be gone. So first thing I'm going to do is use the plus sign, and I'm going to pull these two together. Now I'm going to do the negative sign with the Option key, and I'm going to get rid of those two pieces. So if we color this now, we now have a shape with a hole in it, just like the one underneath. That's exactly what we want. It's the wrong color, but that's okay. I have to do this 2 more times. I'm going to grab everything. And you could probably just do the whole thing together, but we're doing it one by one just to keep it simpler. So this one includes the outer shape, the second layer, and the third layer. So I'm going to get my shape builder tool again. I'm going to join those 3 layers that I want and Option click to get rid of the center. Flip that color around, and now I've got a nice red square with a tiny white square in the middle. And then this one is just a solid background. So I'm going to draw a box around everything. And I could use my Pathfinder tool, but I prefer to use my shape builder. And I'm just going to use that plus shape builder to join everything together. And now I have a solid shape. And I can flip that color and we have a solid shape. Command negative, negative, negative. So now I've got basically the exact same thing down here. I started out by copying this reference, resizing it, duplicating it 3 more times, and using the shape builder tool to add and remove pieces and parts of the shapes. So if you look at my layers panel right now, you will see it's all on the working layer, but inside that working layer, you'll see all of the shapes that I just created. So based on, if I hide that working layer, you can see this needs to be the bottom layer right here. So currently, if I pull that eyeball back again and click on that, it's way at the top, and I don't want it at the top. I want it behind everything. So I want to take this little blue dot right here and drag, well, no, actually, I just want to take the whole layer, drag it to the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and name it Layer 4. Then this one is Layer 3. I want it to be underneath because I'm going to be stacking these on top of each other here in a minute. So here it is. I'm going to pull it down above Layer 4, and I'm going to rename it. Did that not work? Yeah, it did. Okay. Layer 3. This one is going to be Layer 2, and I can see that because it's on the template. Pull that one down right above 3 and rename it Layer 2. And then the top layer, or the frame, is going to be Layer 1, and that's in the perfect position. So now I've got Layer 1, 2, 3, and 4. So while I'm in here, before I do anything else, like add a drop shadow to show you how this came about right here, I've got them in the right order. That's the important part. Now I'm just going to change the color. You can change them to any color you want. I'm just going to use the eyedropper tool and grab the colors that are down here. So I'm going to click on the first one, and I'm going to go I for eyedropper. So eyedropper tool is right here. And if you scroll over it, you'll see it says I for eyedropper right here. So use your shortcut keys. So click on it with your selection tool, get your I for eyedropper, and go down and pick up that yellow. Now I'm going to go back to the selection tool. I can do it manually like that, or I can go to V. So instead of going all the way up there to the toolbar, I'm just going to click on V. I'm going to click on the next layer. I'm going to click on I and get the orange. I'm going to do the same thing again. V, selection tool, I, pink. V, selection tool, I, purple. So now I've got the exact same colors. As I said, you don't have to have the exact same colors. Now I see this is a little off. It's not lined up properly. So I'm really meticulous when it comes to perfection in Illustrator. So now it's perfectly aligned. And if you can't align it visually, there are tools in the Properties panel. So if I go to Window and Properties, I can align it here with the horizontal align center and the vertical align center, just to make sure everything is nicely centered. The rest of them look pretty good. Command negative, 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 negative. So I've got all these layers. They're all in the right order. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a drop shadow to all 4 layers. I'm going to grab all 4. I don't really need one on the back, but I'll add one either way. So I've got all these 4 layers. You can see them in the layers panel. They're all highlighted here. I'm going to go to Effect. I'm going to go to Stylize, and I'm going to add a drop shadow. And that just gives it a little bit of depth. Mine is set at 100% opacity, and these are my X and Y offsets and the blur, etc., which I'm cool with that. Click OK. So now for the final assembly, all we have to do is take this one and move it holding my Shift key, put it underneath that one. Take this one, holding my Shift key, and move it under that one. And if they're not perfectly aligned, I'll show you how in a minute. Take this one, hold my Shift key. And if I don't hold my Shift key, it goes all over the place. But if I hold my Shift key, it stays aligned. So I can see that it's not perfectly aligned because there's a little bit of purple hanging over and there's a little bit of orange right here. So I'm going to grab the whole chunk, go back to my Properties panel and center horizontally and center vertically. Now I have a paper cut. So once you get this done and you see that it's working, we're going to take each of those layers and put them back where they came from. And you could probably just do Command Z, Z, Z. In fact, I will. This is what we're going to print, these 4 artboards, and this is what we're going to cut. We're going to cut the white out of these shapes, and then we're going to use double-sided tape to stick it together, and it's going to look just like this. The only thing we don't need before we cut this out is the drop shadow, because the drop shadow is going to be made when you put the spacer in between the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and take the drop shadow off of all of these things. So Effect, Stylize. It's not going to let me do it. It's going to want to add another one. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go to Window and Appearance. So your Appearance panel tells you everything you've done to an object. So right now, all of these have a drop shadow. If I don't want that drop shadow, I can hide it, or I can delete it and throw it in the trash. So I don't need it right now. For the assignment, you will need it. But for this demonstration, you do not need the drop shadow. Don't worry about this words coming through here because you're going to be cutting this out. So that's basically it. We'll be doing this in class, so stay tuned.